good, everybody? Welcome back to another Legion review. This is Ian here coming at you for episode 8, chapter 16 for season 2. We are running at a breakneck pace to the final parts of the races here. We've got the Shadow King hot on the trail of his body. David trying to finish things up, hopefully get to the body for the Shadow King and, well, kill him, unlike what he started out to do at the top of this season. If you've been watching, you will know that the alliance between David and the Shadow King is no more. And these are the final paces. So, as always, so you know, but you always know this, but I say it anyway, we are diving into spoiler territory. So if you're waiting to see this one elsewhere, if you're looking for another outlet, or you're just staggering episodes, maybe you're just waiting for the season finale before you watch everything, you have been warned. Other than that, we're going to jump right into it. So, at the top of the episode, we see the fate of Ptonomy here. As you know, he was inducted into Admiral Fukuyama's machine. His mind was saved, his body destroyed at the end of pretty crazy last couple of episodes, and we saw the result of the, I'm just going to say goop chicken. Best way I can think of it right now. Ptonomy's trying to get acclimated to his new surroundings. What can he still do? What are his possibilities? He maps things out pretty quick, gets things figured out, and sure enough, he starts tracing some pathways after looking at his own imprisonment. And sure enough, who does he find? The monk. It looks like the monk's mind was saved, sort of like how his mind was. I guess his body was recovered once he jumped off the building and committed suicide from after his meeting with David. And for good cause, too, because we know the monk was the one who knew where Farouk's body was. Now, in this episode, David is trying to form a plan and figure out, all right, what are we going to do? How am I going to go about beating Farouk to his own body that I don't even know how to get to it in the first place? Here you go. A solution that you would have thought, I guess, Fukuyama himself would have offered, is considering the fact that they're after Farouk and that they want to kill him. I would think that's it's a piece of data or info you wouldn't want to omit. But hey, what do I know? Maybe the monk actually had a way of shielding himself or from being fully integrated, inducted into the system. Weirdly enough, when Ptonomy runs into him, he's sort of doing his wall stick routine, a la Spider-Man style, kind of when they originally found him in Fukuyama's room on the outside. So Ptonomy puts two and two together. He manages to get the location of Farouk's body and immediately hijacks one of the mustache fembots to give David a heads up as to where he can find it, give him a clue, hopefully set him right on the trail. And this is kind of cool. This is really helping David in a pinch. I was really curious where Ptonomy's role was going to come in this season more. He's right from the start, he was one of our early, I guess, patient zeros for this mind infection, this idea infection. And of course, he was the first one to fully succumb to it, actually losing his physical body, actually dying from this. And to me, that was kind of a bummer. I always thought he was a really interesting character, this concept of the memory keeper. Someone who does not forget, and someone who's a storehouse for so much knowledge. I felt he hasn't really had that much of an impact on season 2, and I really was looking for where, I guess I was going to take off, or where he's going to turn that around. But if there's any spot I can call it, right here. And it kind of sucks that has to happen when he's dead, but hey, better than nothing. I'll gladly take it. So armed with that knowledge in mind, David puts the finishing touches on his plan. Interestingly enough, we see a side of David here in this episode that we have not seen in the rest of this series. And I say that because you have David willing to go to certain bounds to manipulate others or to control them or to use them as pawns in his larger plan. He knows that he needs a plan. Sid tries to sit down and help him figure out something, and he's sort of locked in his own head, still thinking. He's not fully opening up to her about everything. And he's still not fully opening up to her about his final meeting with future Sid. Now, there's a couple things both parties don't know. Of course, David does not know that future Sid now has an alliance with this Shadow King. Current Sid also doesn't know of just how David and future Sid parted. She's under the impression that they got in some sort of fight or disagreement. David's just going along the lines of we're not on talking terms. I'm not seeing her anymore. I'm not visiting, and he's really just purposely left things open ended. Kind of funny considering the amount of episodes we had dedicated to these two, especially in an entire episode when David delved into Sid's mind to unlock her to bring her back. That was all about reestablishing this trust between them, building a stronger relationship, and not keeping secrets from one another. And what do we get here? Troubling stuff. Real troubling stuff. David, man. In any case, David dives back into his own personal cerebro to look for location of the body from the tip he got from Autonomy, and he sees it. So he sets about a plan to organize some foot soldiers of his own to go intercept Farouk. He plays this out, maps this out in his mind. He ends up paying a really short visit to Lenny, and very much in the style of one of my favorite movies of all time, Inception, places an idea in her head, or a time that she is supposed to sort of awaken to this and help. The way I interpreted this was he relayed his plan to her and the role he wanted her to play, but kind of like a hypnosis effect, he wasn't going to trigger that until he was absolutely ready. So he takes a short visit to Lenny, does that, and also runs into Clark and Carrie during a trip down the hallway to, similar to what he did to Lenny, infuse an idea in their minds as well for when he needs them, and really shares at least his part of the plan that they're supposed to execute. So all the pieces are set up. Afterwards, David uses his translocation, his teleportation abilities, to jump straight out in the middle of the desert to find the Solil, which will be the burying grounds that we've been seeing for the Shadow King, and hopefully to get there before he does. Now, the trick is this place just isn't just hanging out. It's almost some sort of like either a geological disturbance or some kind of like causality disturbance, because the thing is moving. It turns out this place isn't in one fixed location the whole time, and it looks like Farouk has the better heads up, that he's got a bit of an ace over David here. He ends up paying a visit to a retirement home to find the driver, who was the person on site that was actually attending his burial, who was actually driving that car to the original monastery and back in the past. And it turns out, too, that future Sid told him this. So, armed with this knowledge, he sets out with Oliver to hopefully stay at least a day or so ahead of David and to get his body back. Now, in typical Shadow King style, there's a few stumbling blocks he's trying to put in David's way. Just as David is getting some of his own pawns positioned to help him out with his plan, the Shadow King, through Oliver, looks like he got through to Melanie and is actively using her to impede Clark, at least, or to put her in some kind of path to trip up David, or to trip up David's plan a bit. Now, this didn't get a whole lot of development during the episode. There's just this short part where Clark it awakens, his idea triggers, just as Lenny had a little earlier in the episode. She manages to escape her cell and she gets away in a moped. And Clark wakes up. He goes about to set about his duties and the part of the plan that David set in his mind. And Melanie waylays him, just knocks him out cold with the baton in the middle of the hall. We get a short wind back of time, and then we see from her perspective, and then that through her mind, that it was indeed Oliver / the Shadow King that influenced her. And weirdly enough, there's a little connection to the Minotaur that we saw in her mind that kind of connects late episode. I'm not gonna get into that too much because that really didn't seem to go anywhere. It's just sort of a loose branch. Kind of worried that this is just sort of strung here, and that this isn't supported too well, but maybe we'll see more of this develop next episode. A lot of the small little tidbits we get at the end of episodes tend to connect pretty well and everything like this, but that was really the only little side that I saw that stood out, that didn't jam and flow with everything else as smoothly as the rest of the plot elements. Meanwhile, now I'm going to give Sid points for dynamic entry here. So David has gone out by himself to do this mission. And interestingly enough, Sid is one of the only ones that he purposely does not attempt to mind control in any way. Of course, partially the issue because of touch. But he just leaves her a note saying, "Time to kill the monster." And Sid is just pissed off seeing this. All they've been through, and David doesn't even take her along immediately. So she had already noted that during a conversation with Clark that she was going to go after David, but we didn't know how. And lo and behold, she parachutes out of a jet. Now, how she had such an accurate bead on exactly where David was beats me. But this was major points for dynamic entry. She finds David right out in the middle of this desert, parachutes out of a jet, and immediately kicks him in the shin and gives him a short miniature just slap down, basically saying, "Look, you don't do this. I am on your side, for goodness sake." So with that in tow, David no longer is pushing her away, no longer leaving her side, takes her with him on this massive hike he's on, trying to get to this monastery before Farouk does. Now, and again, here's where the whole concept of the moving monastery comes in again. Farouk himself even makes a comment to Oliver that David is going to wander for all eternity unless he figures out the secret to this place, which obviously Farouk knows already. Sid and David end up coming across what seems to be skeletal remains of themselves in this tent, in this sort of settlement area during this storm they come across. And Sid surmises it's pretty much either some sort of geological disturbance or some sort of crossroads of possibilities almost. And this is really whacked out and weird, which really makes me look and think, man, what kind of powers do these monks have? I mean, I guess I've been thinking to myself all along that we're really talking so in a psychic sense, but it seems they put some sort of barrier around this place to make sure it was not going to be found easy. And for good reason, because, Farouk getting his body is just the end of the world. What's wrong, right? What's wrong with that? And besides that, this is a real setup here for the fireworks that are going to happen ideally in the next episode or for our season's end. All the pieces are in line. I'm reserving some judgment till I see all of that and where all this is going to go. There was a pretty cool commentary on social media near the end of this episode. We've been getting these little vignettes of destructive ideas, delusions, narcissistic behavior, and all those things throughout all the episodes. And these have all started to come together in the last episodes really well. But there is a commentary on narcissism here and the effect that delusions have to the point of believing no one else matters but the person actively participating in the delusion, until they realize that if others are under the delusions themselves, then they actually don't matter, and then no one matters, and it's all a crazy circle. But anyway, out of the episode, that was one of the neatest things to watch. I like that. I enjoyed that. I am going to give this episode a 7.5 out of 10 just because I'm still on the edge a little bit, waiting how all this is going to pan out to see exactly what they want to do about it. There's not much time left, and hopefully it's a darn good ending. I hope all this buildup hasn't been for nothing. So, in any case, please stay tuned. Thank you so much for tuning in. More reviews coming your way. Also, be sure to tune in to our channel for our movie reviews and our weekly show. But until next time, take it easy. Hey people, thank you for tuning into this episode and taking a listen. If you like our content, if you like what you're listening to, is there anything to go over, hey, please, we would not only love to hear more from you, but if great, if you could throw some support, you can subscribe right below. Also, you can toss us a line anytime. That's ksongmedia@gmail.com. Of course, you can tune in for our channel anytime for movie reviews, game reviews, a lot of random wacky stuff. Who knows what you'll hear. And of course, our episode each week where we're bringing the nerdiest things we can find, dig up, and maybe not find. Maybe the stuff that just drops in our laps. But anyway, hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. We hope to hear from you again later. Take care.